Podcast, episode 79. I'm your host, Jason Arriola, and joining me today is...
John Lucero. Hello. How are you doing?
Pretty good. About yourself, man?
Fantastic. Living the dream.
Yeah, all right. This is our off-air banter normally, so...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we normally do that before we start recording here, so... Anyway, I don't think we're going to keep this one too long just because we did a marathon session last week of Metal Gear Solid Game Club, and you're probably still trying to get through that one because that is a long listen. So maybe I should have split that up into two parts, but hindsight and all. So anyway, moving on from that, John, it has been about a month since we've done the actual podcast here. So
yeah, it's been a while.
We got a lot to talk about what we've been playing. You've got some highlights you wanted to go over?
Yeah. I mean, that's where to start. What's a good one? I'll start with what I played this weekend, I guess, mainly. I played the Call of Duty World War II beta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was not planning on doing that, but a friend messaged me saying because he had to pre-order the game to get into the beta, and I get Call of Duty. I usually buy a Call of Duty. I don't need to pre-order it. I know what it's whatever.
But what if they run out?
Yeah, it's like I generally buy the Call of Duty game every year.
Yeah.
And this one was interesting enough. It's different, taking it back to a little more classic Call of Duty than what it's been the past few years.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been since World at War, and that was like 2009?
Yeah, that was the last World War II one, and then the last heavy mobility one was Ghosts, I think. Was the one that was the last standard Call of Duty movement game. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think Ghost was after Black Ops 2. I'm pretty sure it was, but those two were the last ones. My friend messaged me, said because he was a big World of War fan. That's like his personal favorite, and he said he was gonna get it and get into the beta. So pre-ordered on Amazon, 20% off, and if I don't like it, I can just cancel it. But
yeah,
got into the beta. And it's definitely Call of Duty. It is Call of Duty with a World War II skin on it, and it's it's good. I enjoy. It's a good time. The menu, the menu design around it's really nice. They keep with the theme. This one seems class based instead of a little more class based instead of loadout based. I guess. I mean, you're still making loadouts, but classes have some individual abilities that you unlock as you level up the class too. There's and they're based on military regiments like infantry, airborne, expeditionary, and the sniper class and the heavy class. But I've been playing the expeditionary one, which is the shotgun class, and it comes with incendiary rounds. That's the first bonus you get with that.
Okay.
And it's pretty satisfying lighting a dude on fire immediately. It does obscure your view quite a bit with a bunch of particles and flames shoot out of your gun, but it's it looks cool, so you sacrifice for my art, I guess. But it's good. I had a good time. They changed the kill cam. It's been the last kill of the game forever since Modern Warfare. I think was the first one to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the first time I remember it.
And now it's a play of the game instead. So it Overwatch style, and which is I think a nice little improvement instead of just the last kill of some dude just turning and quickly shooting a guy that happened to run by him and getting highlighted for that. So that's cool. Anything else? War is a new mode. I think they had it in World of War. Was the last one that had that. I don't quite remember how it worked in that one, but this one it's very objective based, and I think it's only on one map for the beta. And one side is trying to get a tank from one side of the map to the other to destroy a artillery emplacement, and there's a there's a bunch of different steps. You got to storm the enemy base first, or and then you got to build a bridge to get the tank across, and then you got to destroy an ammo supply, and then you got to do the final push payload style, like also like Overwatch at the end to get it to finish the match. So that's kind of interesting, and it also gets you to switch classes too for different sections of the for different objectives. Like sometimes close quarters is much more useful for a certain objective, or sometimes a sniper is much more useful.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I've liked that. It's been some nice changes. I mean, in the end, it's really, I think World War II era guns are probably going to be what decide whether you're going to like this or not. It's they're not the same depth of attachments and stuff for weapons that there are in a modern warfare style game. So that could turn people off. I mean, maybe they will have a bunch of unlocks. I'm sure they will. It's Call of Duty, but yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice playing. I mean, I got that last year too with the Modern Warfare Remastered, but it's been nice playing a more standard Call of Duty. It's the last one I really got into though was Advanced Warfare. That one's kind of divisive, but I really liked it. That was the first big mobility one.
That when I was out with my hip surgery last year, like it may have just overdone on Call of Duty because I played Ghosts story mode, and then I went through Advanced Warfare, and I got, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through, and it just kind of lost interest.
Yeah, Ghosts is probably my least favorite one.
It wasn't so great. It just was sort of like, the way I think of Call of Duty games is like their single player things are just popcorn action movies for me, basically. So.
Oh yeah, that's what you got to treat them like that. Like they're big set piece, roller coaster rides.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm curious about how they're going to handle this World War II campaign, because I mean, how bombastic it's going to be, or if it's going to be more like memorable scenarios that they're going to put you through, which would make the campaign better overall if it was just a bunch of stuff like that. So I mean, it's Call of Duty. It's coming out in a few months. It's there. I think there's another beta next month or the month before it comes out, or October. I think they're doing another beta. But yeah, playing that. And then the other game that I've been playing is XCOM 2.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were going to pick that up.
Yeah, I got in the mood for some XCOM, and I've been wary of XCOM 2 because I've heard of how much harder it is than the first XCOM, and the first XCOM is a very hard game to begin with.
Yeah.
Like that game,
the reboot of the series.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the original one is even harder.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say that one is even. Yeah.
At least the new one has some modern conveniences to it. But I really liked the first XCOM. Like I'm not a big strategy game guy, but I think the small squads help and being able to play it on the console. It works super well on a console. I would recommend PC if you have a PC. That's the best way. That's the best place to play the game.
Yeah.
Just put all the mod support and all the expansions come out first on PC. But yeah, I really liked the first XCOM, and then it had just the right amount of micromanagement to where I don't get tired of doing it, and so the second one picks up it assumes that you lost the first XCOM, which is probably the best choice because first of all, the percentage of people that finish any video game is pretty low. I think is what they've seen from achievements percentages and stuff like that. The percentage of people that actually finish games they start is really low, and so a game like XCOM probably had an even lower completion percentage. So it was the right choice for the sequel. It also probably made it easier to expand upon than having to create another alien threat again.
Yeah, I was gonna say you beat them back and then they just come back for more basically. Oh, didn't Independence Day kind of do that?
Oh yeah. And see how that turned out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this one you're the Resistance, and so in your base, instead of being like this high tech facility, you're now in this retrofitted giant sky fortress kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That you're constantly flying around the globe to different places, which is kind of cool. You're also it makes sense because you're a rebellion, so you can't just be in the same place the entire time.
Yeah.
And but fuck, Jason, this game is hard.
That's what I've heard, man. I've heard it makes the first one like a goddamn cakewalk.
It started out. I was doing pretty well for the first few missions. I was feeling pretty good about it, but eventually it spikes really quick. Like in terms of just the variety of enemies they start throwing at you. Like it's and I feel like the dice rolls for like stuff in the first one seemed unfair on occasion.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes.
Yeah, this one I feel like the dice rolls even more unfair. Like, and I think they don't load like, cause there are point blank shots I'll have where it tell me like, because I think the angle my like the two like the enemy and my character are at.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll tell me like I have a 46% chance of like hitting a point blank shot, and I will miss a point blank shot. Oh man, that is beyond frustrating.
Yeah. I was gonna say even I have more than a better chance at 40%.
Yeah, and then like every enemy from the first one is an upgraded version of itself. Everything from the first game is now harder than it was in the first game.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, great. Like the sectoids, the standard enemy in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
They're now about the size of a thin man, and they can basically they have a huge range, and they can mind control your people at will. Like they can mind control one person or reanimate corpses at will.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's like the standard enemies now are more like foot soldiers, with guns, and then they have like there's the kind with stun rods that can just basically sprint up. They have their range seems unlimited sometimes because they sprint up and just if they connect with their stun rod, they will either disorient or knock a person unconscious if they don't outright just kill them. And unconscious, I don't know if they can wake up unless you go over and wake them up. It either lasts a really, really long time or you have to go do it yourself. So that can be frustrating. Like losing one of 4 people like that is serious. Like in that game, losing any one of your soldiers is pretty serious.
Yeah, for sure.
A balanced squad is important, and like you losing one of them can like turn the tides drastically in their favor. So, I mean, you're already outgunned to begin with. There's like these shapeshifters that will be disguised as civilians, and you walk up next to them and then just appear, and they're like just huge behemoth character, which can heal itself slowly over time. There's the thin men are now like they show their true form, and they're just giant like viper men.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're just giant like cobras, and they have. Let's see, they can, if they're close enough to your people, they can wrap themselves around them, and you can't control your character. And so the only way to get him out is to kill the viper before he kills your character or someone else shoots him while he's being bound. And they also have their tongue can shoot out super far, and they can pull a character to them and bound them that way. If they don't miss, they can, and they rarely miss. So it's just.
That sounds frustrating. Didn't they just come out with an expansion thing for this thing that makes it even harder?
They did. They come out with an expansion, and actually the expansion was, after reading about it and seeing some reviews for it, was really what got me to want to try the main game because the expansion sounds really cool. Because it seems like the first real thing to use the Nemesis system, like since Mordor.
Yeah, I was gonna say since the first thing that used the Nemesis system.
Yeah, like which is so stupid. I don't know why that hasn't been like just used to death at this point.
I wonder if it's just hard to implement, maybe.
I mean, I'm sure it's not easy to do something like that. But I mean, XCOM has a very miniature version of that. There are like 3 boss aliens basically that will show up at random times, and they're very hard to defeat, and as you defeat them, they will come back stronger and with different abilities next time based on how you fought them the first time. So that's really interesting. And then there's like, they're just zombie hordes now, basically, that you can have to contend with the new one. So yeah, I've not played the expansion, so I can't attest to much, but I know they give you a bunch of new gear too to deal with stuff, like which they always at least make your characters better too. But yeah, like there's a doomsday clock now in this one, which is kind of nice to see. Because like in the first game, you get to a point where you could not win the game, but you would have to finish the game.
Yeah.
which is frustrating because you can't. it's just very frustrating because you're like, I just can't come back from this. I've lost too many soldiers. I'm too behind, and like a squad of rookies is gonna get
Just
annihilated.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, you might as well just restart at that point.
yeah. It's so because I guess four people with assault rifles are just gonna get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think that's what stopped me from my playthrough originally. Like, I was doing pretty well, and then I think I got to the like very end game. Like, I think I got into like one of the alien ships or whatever, and it just like my guys just kept getting wrecked, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if I can get any further along in this.
Yeah, like and the enemies they seem to have I feel like they throw out more enemies now in this one. I don't remember the first one exactly how many enemies they would throw out at a time, but they have, I mean, technology wise they can. But the Doomsday Clock, if you don't complete certain events, kind of like in the first one, not only will these events cause you to have like negative effects for a while. Like I barely failed one. It was frustrating because a new enemy showed up I'd never seen before, which is like a super enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it since either, but it could like it could throw out a big like energy vortex thing that would disable all weapons from characters inside of it, and then it would also explode after a few turns.
Okay.
And anyone caught inside of that would die pretty much instantly. And it could also, if it halved its health, it could clone itself to create another one of it with like half health too, like they have the same amount of health. But unlike if you kill a sectoid, like you get your mind-controlled heroes back or soldiers back, and the reanimated corpses collapse. Like if you kill the sectoid, that's you get everything goes back to normal. But if you kill a clone, like the main codex, like the clone is still there. Like it's basically just another enemy at that point.
Wow. Okay.
And that can clone itself too. So if you aren't, yeah, like it's basically just another one. So it can, like that thing. Just I luckily I lost 2 soldiers in that one, but I only lost 1 to that thing. So that was, and that was like he was like my best soldier too. Like he had been, so that was a blow. And then for icing on the cake, like I now have a permanent negative effect where every like research project takes twice as long.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, at that point I'd just
Yeah.
be like, fuck this game.
Yeah.
I'm done.
So
I'm out.
I've been moving along. Like the Doomsday Clock is about halfway right now. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to succeed, but I'm just trying to get used to build different research projects, trying to figure out like my plan of attack if I go at it again. And like I finally just got like the beam weapon equivalent for my soldiers, because I was feeling like, and I would have got it sooner if it wasn't for that for doubling the amount of time it would take to research them. So that's it's rough. I'd like to see the person that I'd like to see the person that succeeds their first time through on this. They have also added some new units, and they also some new just like skill trees for the units too. Like even though I think the only unit that's basically the same is the sniper unit, except he can use his revolver. He doesn't have to switch weapons to use the revolver.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's it's an improved sniper unit. They added they're all the same with a little more. Like the shotgun unit now has a sword that is very powerful.
Oh,
and they have it has a pretty long range too. Like you can one hit kill the smaller enemies, and it does a lot of damage too. And you can also, as the skill tree goes up, like focus on being a sword person. So the heavy guy gets a grenade launcher now, like it just as a standard thing, which is really good, and you get two uses with that instead of just one grenade. So, and then the assault class has a drone, which is really cool too. That can you can send it to heal characters and like stabilize them too.
Oh, okay. So is it like a medical drone, or does it?
Yeah,
it actually have some attack capability?
It depends on how you spec it, honestly.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so like there's a lot of depth to this game, of course, and there's even more so than the first game, which is really cool. So like you don't feel like you definitely feel outgunned, but you don't feel like it's impossible.
Okay.
to succeed. Like I go into most fights thinking I can, if I do save scum a little bit. I don't I don't say XCOM every time my character dies. Usually, if it just like my squad just gets wiped by some bullshit, I will like some bullshit rules, which can be really frustrating. I also just want to see as much of the game as I can, but yeah, I feel like I can get out of most conflicts, and which is at least something. But yeah, it's a fucking hard game.
Yeah, honestly, that's sort of what has kept me away from it. Was just from what I had heard, it was harder than the most recent whatever XCOM and the prior XCOM, and it did not sound appealing to me at all.
Yeah, that's what turned me off too, because I was like, that first game's really hard. Like I got about the same point you did. I got to like the inside the alien facilities and ships and stuff, and just couldn't quite pull it out. But yeah, this one is definitely harder. But I think all the stuff they added is really really cool. And if you liked the first XCOM, I feel like you should definitely play the second one, because it's the frame rate will tank quite a bit when loading can take a while too. So like it's still kind of rough, even. I mean, because it launched pretty rough too, from what I remember.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I mean, the Enemy Within, which I think was the subtitle for the first XCOM.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Enemy Unknown.
Unknown, yeah. And Within was the like the expansion.
Yeah, they added in some stuff, I think, to this, to the main thing. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how that worked.
Yeah, it was basically if you could buy Within, and it was basically the main game, and they added like psionic abilities for your soldiers and mechs and stuff too. But they also added new enemies, I think. The psionic abilities are in this one too. I haven't quite got them yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay. Yeah, that was I played Enemy Within. God, I don't remember how long. It's been a while, but I do remember that they added something like a sort of like risk reward thing of some sort of consumable or like resource that you could collect, and it would make you like
meld, I think was what they added.
There you go, that's what it was, and it would make you like pace through the battles a lot quicker rather than kind of turtling down and going inch by inch by inch trying to set up the perfect thing. So
yeah, and like there are a lot of objective types that have turn counters on them, so it really makes you have to move a lot faster in this one.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't just Overwatch to get through things, which makes it harder too, because you have to constantly be moving, and like you'll move right into an enemy that's going to flank you that you didn't know was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be frustrating constantly, but I still really enjoy playing it, even for how frustrating it is. I think doing a game club on it would be fun with a bunch of people with us. Maybe starting from the beginning would be kind of fun.
Maybe we don't do a game club where we finish. We just get up to a certain point and like, hey, this is where I finished. So.
Oh, I don't mean game. I'm sorry, game night would be fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say
game club seems a little
much.
Yeah,
asking a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not too bad at strategy games, but even knowing like some of the tricks to the first XCOM, like I was still having a hard time getting through that first one. And like I said, I got to where I got, and I was just like, I can't proceed any further. So, because I mean, like if I remember, like satellites were like the most important thing to.
Yeah, satellites are not in this because I mean you're a rebellion, so so it makes no sense. They instead you're constantly building your network with a bunch of different like resistance HQs around the world. So you're like constantly trying to get in contact with a bunch of people and so that also leads to more attacks on different places you have to deal with. So it is more of a macro system than the first one. Even like the first one, you just had your base, and then so it's a little more confined. But yeah, you got to travel around a lot in this one. It's a really good game though. It's a really really good strategy game. The new expansion is not on consoles yet. I think it just came out on PC. It'll be there eventually.
Yeah, and see, like in my head, I had already like sort of like I guess, prepared myself for never playing this because originally they said there was no way they were going to be able to put it on consoles. And
And I was
yeah.
disappointed by that because I really liked the console. I mean, obviously it's best on PC. Like I'm not out of my mind or anything, but the first one is a really well made console game. Like it works super well on a controller, which is impressive, and it just goes to show like how clean the design for that game is. But yeah, like they released it about a year later, so.
Yeah, kind of. I remember seeing that. I was like, "Oh man, I want to play that." And it's been floating around in my head to pick it up because I think you can get it like for like $20 these days. It's not that expensive, but
yeah, I got it for like 30, I think.
Yeah, because I think if you go on GameFly's store, like you can get it for like $20, and it's just like, man, it keeps tempting me, but I'm just like, I know I'm never gonna play it, and if I do, I'm probably just if it's even harder than the first one, it probably will just end up getting flung on the shelf in frustration very quickly to sit there and collect dust like so many other things I own.
Yeah, there's a digital edition on PS4 that has there are 3 expansions before that came out already, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They're smaller expansions. They kind of all go together. I think there was like a name for them, but I did not get that because I just wasn't sure how much I'd play this game because I was concerned that it would just be too hard and I'd get frustrated. But just the idea because a lot of that stuff it's later game stuff that you have to get to. So, and I also just wanted to experience the base game first.
Yeah, see, I get into that problem where if there's DLC, I want all the DLC, and if I know there's DLC coming out, I wait. Like that's kind of what happened with me with Final Fantasy 15 is knowing some of the stuff they were going to change and adding stuff. Like I stopped dead in my tracks, and like now I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for this game to be, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, finished before I get back into it. So
yeah, I thought about it. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to spend that money on it because I wasn't sure if I would use all of it.
Yeah.
But that new expansion, I'm very, very interested in trying. Just like the whole Nemesis system sounds so cool.
But, yeah. See, let me tell you that that problem I have with like I want all the DLC even if I never use it was an expensive endeavor when I got into Darius Burst Savior Chronicles.
Yes.
All the DLC in there, I think, was more than the game itself.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That was like a $60 game, wasn't it?
Yeah, originally. Well, I ended up getting it for like 40, I think, or something like that. But yeah, with all the DLC, it ended up being $100-something endeavor for me.
The digital deluxe edition on PS4 thing is $80 for everything. So
that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think it comes. I don't know if that gets you like the next expansion in the future or not. I don't know if it's like a season pass, but so yeah, I mean, I've been really into XCOM. Other than that, I've been fucking around with Hearthstone with this new. I finally, for like the first time in a year, trying to get back in the swing of things with that. They just released a new expansion.
I was just gonna say, I thought you had fallen off of that altogether.
Yeah, but I decided to give it a go. I kind of was in the mood. Most of my decks are obsolete in standard mode. Like the cards just aren't allowed in like standard ranked play anymore.
Oh, okay.
So there's a wild mode you can play in where anything goes, all cards. Because I mean, I think that's pretty common in card games. Eventually, things get banned, and as the game expands, they also sometimes because the cards are just too overpowered. Sometimes because they want some variety. Because like there are cards that would just always be in decks because they're just too good. They're to not be. So I've been trying to get in the swing of things with that. Gore tried it for the first time. I don't know if you saw us talking on Twitter about that, but he tried it for the first time too, and he seemed to enjoy it. So
yeah, he for a while he was writing a series on him getting into Magic the Gathering, and now that I think he's because it's not it's Hearthstone's not on like PS4 or anything, right?
No.
He
just mobile and PC.
Okay, so yeah, so I think he just started using it on his new PC. So I think that's where he's been playing it. Then
I tend to play it on my iPad, but it seems
like a good iPad game.
Yeah, it's super easy. It's just a very it's less complex than Magic is, which makes it way more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think the big changes between it and Magic are like you can't play cards during your opponent's turn, which you can do in Magic. So so it just keeps like so that kind of keeps you don't have to be thinking constantly. Just wait for what your opponent does, and you counter that. So.
Okay.
But it's fun. Like they've added, I think a big change is they added a bunch of. There's only a few cards in the game like this prior, but they basically your hero character is like your class basically, and they each have an ability that costs so much mana. I think two. I think they all cost two. I'm pretty sure they do. I feel stupid if I said that and it doesn't, but anyway,
I don't know how big our audience is on Hearthstone, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I've played so much of it too. Like it's been out for like 3 years now.
Man, has it really? Oh yeah.
2014. Yeah. It's anyway, but all these cards will replace your hero character and give it a new ability. So that's interesting too. More of those cards at least. There used to only be like a couple and only that did that, and so that can really change a game. I had not played for a while, and the game like gave me a bunch of packs and like dust. We use dust to craft cards you don't have instead of having. So it's a pretty decent system for not having to pay ever. I have spent plenty of money on Hearthstone. I'm not going to sit here and say I've never spent money on Hearthstone. I've spent way too much. But yeah, if you as you get cards you have already, you can turn them into dust to later craft better cards that you don't have. But it gave me a bunch, and I was able to craft a really solid deck I can use in Standard, and I can still use my other ones in Wild too. But so I've been messing with that. But yeah, that's maybe me and Gore will do some of that too. He told me he'd play me once he got used to it. I'll probably wipe the floor with him, to be honest. But,
who knows?
Yeah,
It might surprise you.
It's a card game too. Like it's literally it's like you can just get a bad hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one can go to luck of the draw there.
Yeah, that's about it. I had a couple of reviews go on the site over the last month. Splatoon 2 and Hellblade, both Splatoon 2 highly recommend if you have a Switch. I think it's the second must-have Switch game after Zelda. So, and Hellblade, I highly recommend with caveats. It's like that gameplay. The gameplay, it's short enough to where I think you can get past the gameplay if you don't like it. But it's a really unique experience. Yeah, but I think that's about it. I've fucked around with other things here and there, but that's all stuff worth talking about.
Okay. I'll go over the two things I've been playing recently. First off, we'll start off with Uncharted Lost Legacy. For me, this was kind of weird to get into just because I totally skipped over Uncharted 4. And
I was surprised when you said you were playing.
9/10 of Uncharted 3 I skipped over. So, yeah. Anyway, I was on vacation from work, and I went to Redbox to go rent a movie, and I got one of those free game rental things, so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And it was the day Uncharted Lost Legacy came out, so I decided to give it a go, why not? And got into it, and I mean, the opening sequence is an Uncharted opening sequence. You know, there's kind of a lot going on to introduce you, and kind of gives you that feeling of like urgency, I suppose.
High adventure.
And then, yeah, there you go. And it slows down. I don't know if this is something they did in Uncharted 4, so this is hard for me to compare, or going to be impossible for me to compare. But someone who played it, maybe you can fill in the gaps for me here. Basically, you go into an area where it sort of is an open world. It's a very small area, though.
Yeah, I've heard of this. There is a sort of area like that in 4. It's mostly... It's like you can drive around it, but there's not really much to do. But it's okay. It's a very faux open world. I've heard this new one is more of a traditional miniature open world. But
yeah, this it does have a little bit more to it. I don't know how empty Uncharted 4's was, but this there's little temples kind of strewn about, and you can go in there and find these little medallion things to collect that will unlock something. I didn't get far enough to really figure it out. But what really kind of did it for me in this area, there was three temples you had to go to unlock something, and after each temple you finish, it goes into a story beat of sorts, and it literally is just, okay, we're at this point, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself now. And then you get to the next one, and it's the same thing. And then the next one, it's the same thing.
How is the writing though? Is it like Naughty Dog quality? I've heard. Like, is it?
Okay, let's remember, I have played 2 Uncharted games, basically.
True.
So, and the last one I played was, when did Uncharted 2 come out?
Like 2009.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really been about 8 years since I've played an Uncharted game. So, as far as, like, comparing it to other Uncharted games, I'm a little...
Because 4, I think the writing was very strong in 4. It's probably the best written one out of all of them.
I will say it's no The Last of Us, that's for sure. But
yeah, I mean, The Last of Us is a different tone too than Uncharted is going for.
That's what I mean. Like if you go with like Naughty Dog, in general, like I said, it's definitely that. But I mean, there's some funny moments, and it kind of feels like a buddy cop movie, basically. It just, the dynamic between the two wasn't really doing it for me, and the villain that was in there, he made a very brief appearance and kind of disappeared very quickly in the little bit I played of it, but they talked around him, basically. Okay. And I don't know, like I said, just whatever the hook was that is supposed to get you into this type of game early on, it just didn't do it for me. Some of the puzzles reminded me, and I don't know if maybe this is Rise of the Tomb Raider taking lessons from it, or vice versa, or just kind of parallel thinking, but it felt an awful lot like Rise of the Tomb Raider's puzzles. I just enjoyed Rise of the Tomb Raider stuff a little bit better. And some of the I don't know, it just was not doing it for me. And then the gunplay in Uncharted's never been no great shakes. So
yeah, I will say, like, the last Uncharted 4, which it had a really super slow start too. Like, the performances were great, and like the writing was good and all that jazz, but like it didn't get going till the chapter 9 or 10, and there were like 20 chapters in that game.
So you would say like the halfway point, maybe?
Yeah, like but when it picks up, like the second half of that game is fantastic. It's if not a little long and bloated with combat encounters, but it's too many like faux endings, I guess. And like,
okay,
but
and see, my thing with Lost Legacy is this is, from what I've read, like an 8-hour experience, and like 3 or 4 hours in, it was not getting me.
Yeah,
and I was just like, okay, if the halfway point you're not getting your hooks into me, I don't want to finish this. Then I got to this puzzle that just. It wasn't like particularly hard. It just stumped me enough that I was like, I wasn't enjoying myself enough that I wanted to keep going. So I just was like, okay, yeah, I'm done. Back to Redbox you go. So
yeah, I feel like it probably just wasn't for you. I haven't played it myself, so I can't say where. Maybe to have the same experience I had with 4, where it just felt really slow. Like, I was really not super digging for like the first half of it, but that second half. It's really, really good. I don't. Maybe Nadine is also in 4. Chloe's not in 4 at all. This is like her thing.
Okay.
But Nadine is, and she was a pretty cool character, I thought, in 4. I don't know if that would help her paint her as a character more for Lost Legacy. Like, I haven't played it, so I don't know if that would help you, because you
don't have that experience.
Yeah, like she's not a huge character. Like, she's got a decent sized role. She's kind of like the secondary villain.
Mm-hmm. See, I got some indication of that in the story, that she had something to do with it, because they both keep bringing up the Drake brothers, and I'm like, okay, so clearly something went on in the last game. So
yeah, this takes place before 4, I think, or
maybe concurrently.
I don't remember.
Because Nadine does bring up Drake. So
yeah.
So this must have happened. I mean, like I said, it's either concurrently or happened. I think it must happen after the fact, because it sounds like it does.
I thought it was a prequel thing, but okay. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna find out, most likely. So.
I found the villain in 4 was fun. He was a really good, like, he's like shithead, like smarmy ass villain. Like
Okay.
he was the kind of guy you want to see get punched in the face at the end of but I I thought I thought the writing was really good in 4. If you like, you don't go in expecting like I felt like it's good action blockbuster writing, like movie quality writing, like
Okay.
which is hard to find in a video game. Like you got like I feel like Naughty Dog has really nailed this like just the cinematic style.
Yeah. No, and
So
yeah, no, for sure. And the reason being too is video games tend to be a lot longer than a movie. So
yes,
to maintain that pacing and basically you're writing like, for a, 10-hour game, you're writing 5 movie scripts. So
yes, it's yeah.
but
I would like to try Lost Legacy. I probably will at some point. I have some friends that have played it and really liked it.
mhm.
Uh, but yeah, it's not like super high on my list, but I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah. And then of course, I mean, this has nothing to do with the female protagonist thing. I skipped
Oh
out the
yeah, I
last
wasn't
2
like
Uncharted games. So, I mean, it's like, I
I
have
don't
them,
think
but
I don't think you need to say that. I feel like that's like
yeah.
if anyone was to assume that, they're
Yeah.
trying too hard at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are people who would assume that. I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm sure the people that literally think that themselves, like, oh, it's a woman. But I'm sure there are plenty of people that do that, which is a really sad statement on our society. But whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
Yeah. I mean, my daughter was watching me play it for a little bit, and I mean, she doesn't really ever like say anything about like that you always play as a guy because she's not a woke 6-year-old, I suppose. Whatever the hell fucking bullshit people say.
As a millennial, I hate woke too, Jason. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm like woke just sounds like no, I'm offended by everything. But anyway, but she commented like, "Oh, are you playing as a girl?" And I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Yay!" And she sat down and watched me, and so it's not really a commentary on that. There's that she's like, "Oh well, there are never men," or it's always men you play as. It was just like, "Oh, Daddy's playing something as a girl I want to watch." So
yeah, but it is not. I mean, Wonder Woman came out this year and it was a really really good movie. So
yeah,
it's just
she did that.
It's really not. It's nice, that.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that they did it. I had no doubt that Chloe be a good lead character. She's a fun character in 2.
I will say this. I like Chloe a lot. And I like Nadine a lot. It was just, like I said, honestly, I think it was more just the gameplay wasn't really doing it for me. They just, like, hook-wise wasn't enough in there. And the story was okay, I suppose. Maybe I just wasn't in the place I needed to be to play an Uncharted game. And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe for me, that place doesn't exist anymore. It just, the series, like I said, after 2, like, I played 3 a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But there's so many other things I'd kind of rather play than a intriguing popcorn flick, I suppose. So
Sure.
Yeah. The other thing that I was originally intrigued by, and I'm kind of not really anymore, is I'm playing Observer.
Yes.
Now, I don't know. The first caveat I'm going to say is I'm playing this on the Xbox One. And I'm running into some frame rate issues, some serious frame rate issues.
Ooh,
but
okay.
I don't know 100% if this is hardware or if this is some sort of thing in the fiction.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go look up a couple like playthroughs of this to see if like maybe like on a stronger PC it holds up a little bit better, because like the opening sequence it didn't really seem to do it, but as I've gone on and things have sort of deteriorated for your character, it just seems like there's a lot of frame rate issues. But I don't know if that's supposed to be part of the fiction. So yeah,
This is like a cyberpunk horror game. Am I correct in assuming that?
That's kind of putting it as simply as you can.
Yeah.
It's in this contained apartment complex, which is kind of nice because it lets you almost the apartment complex can almost feel like a character in of itself, even though most of it isn't very accessible. A lot of the apartment buildings are locked off. You don't really interact with people very much in there. They basically all have these like, I guess just like a TV screen effectively on their doors that you interact with, and you don't even really see much of them. Most of the time it's just their eye or their mouth or just some like weird staticky picture that you can't really make out. It does lead to some interesting I guess interactions with the people that will answer the door or will briefly answer the door, and as soon as they find out you're a cop they want nothing to do with you. But there's just like gameplay wise, it's just not doing it for me. The team that did this did Layers of Fear last year, and I actually liked Layers of Fear, and I know a lot of people did not like it because it was all jump scares. But what I think Layers of Fear did better, well, as far as the jump scares go thing, because normally that's not my thing, but it felt almost more like a roller coaster ride, like it was taking you on a set path. And okay, well, you know this is coming, but I don't know. Like I think it did I think it did a pretty interesting job of keeping it fresh, even though you knew you were going to get jump scared. The the overall narrative of Layers of Fear was, I suppose, vague enough as to what happened in the end that it kind of kept everything together for me. And just seeing somebody's sanity break down in that game the way it was, I really got a kick out of that. This, you're sort of having the same breakdown mechanism. It's just it's an actual mechanism because you're cybernetically enhanced, or you are, I don't know, like it's not really explained very well exactly what the enhancements that you have attached to you are, but every so often you will need to like take this pill to resync yourself with your cybernetic parts. I don't know.
Huh.
And it just seems like something it did not seem to be something that needed to be in the game. I don't know. Like it literally just feels like, okay, well, here's a mechanic that you have to keep an eye on at certain arbitrary points in the game. And this literally felt like this could have been something you don't need to keep an eye out for, and just during the game, like you start desyncing, and maybe you like just, I don't know, maybe the character by itself kind of does it, or there's just some sort of like plot beat where it does it by itself. I don't know if maybe it's supposed to kind of make you feel more interactive with everything. It is not doing it for me. The horror parts of it, I don't know. I'm not really finding it very scary either. There's a couple, I don't know. I guess it's more graphic than horror at this point. I've seen some people like, I mean, this is no real spoiler because it happens in the first like 15 minutes of the game. But you come into an apartment and you find a guy with his head cut off, and you can't identify him with your technology, and I don't know, there's blood everywhere, and then later on you can find somebody like hanging in a bathroom, but you can't actually see them hanging, you just see kind of their legs dangling basically. And then you come across somebody else who's been pretty badly mutilated, and you mind jack into them. And that sequence right there is kind of where I feel like it was really starting to lose me. It just was not doing it for me. It felt like Layers of Fear because you would have to go through certain areas, and you would kind of like go through, and then the next area you go into wouldn't meld into the next one. You look back, and then what you went through has changed. It's just sometimes the environmental shift is so drastic that it didn't feel like Layers of Fear did, where I think it did a good job of, okay, well, this is where you came from, and then all of a sudden you turn around and it's like, oh, well, this is just a different part of this house. When you mind jack into somebody who does this, I mean, you're going through various points of this guy's life, and it just wasn't really doing it for me. And then a couple times you could turn around, or like you couldn't turn around to see what was behind you either, because it was just making you go forward. And make me go forward, fine, but give me something, like some reason that I can't turn around outside of just, arbitrarily, you're not allowed to turn around anymore. Like you can turn 90 degrees to your left, 90 degrees to your right, but you can't turn around 180 degrees to look behind you anymore.
Okay.
And like I said, just fiction-wise, story's just not doing it for me too much either. It's this very, I guess, dirty cyberpunk kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what it was, like a Blade Runner kind of, that kind of.
Yeah. I mean, the world looks very lived in, and it's kind of takes place in like Eastern Bloc, like Europe, I suppose, but it just, I don't know. I think it actually takes place in Poland, because I think, like, if I'm remembering right, it's like the fifth Polish Empire or something like that is where this game takes place, which is like, what? as a Polish guy, I'm like, I don't think there's ever going to be a Polish Empire, guys. Come on, let's get realistic here, okay? Come on. But like I said, this was one of those games that, like, everything I had read about it and I'd heard about it, it just sounded intriguing enough, and I started playing it, and it just, everything that a lot of people seem to enjoy about it is just not doing it for me, and I don't know what it is. I'm going to finish this up, get a review up, because, like I said, hopefully this thing comes together a little bit more, but this is another one of those games I think is only like 6 or 7 hours, and I'm like 2.5 hours into it, 3 hours, and it's just not coming together for me so far.
Yeah, I'm think I'm the one that brought it to your attention too, because it seemed interesting to me too. Like I was very curious about it, like because I like horror. I like good horror,
Yeah.
and I occasionally like cyberpunk stuff. Not always, but I occasionally do. So I will probably try it myself at some point. See if it clicks more with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sort of, yeah, I ended up with a review code for it, so I do sort of have to finish it. If I had just bought this with my own money, I probably would have just stopped playing it by now. It's not really doing it for me, and there's other games I would rather be playing right now, but, sort of batten down the hatches with this one and get through it. So hopefully within the next couple days I'll have it finished and I can just I don't know. I'm really hoping it turns around on me, just because the world itself is interesting. It's just what's going on narratively is just not doing it for me. But I suppose we'll see. Some of the voice acting is really spotty too, so that's just kind of.
I will say I had a very similar experience with Hellblade, and I ended up like this. It's very slow in the beginning, but it did eventually pick up. So I mean, maybe you'll get lucky too, like I did. So
one mechanic I did forget to mention. Because of your implants or whatever, you do have like, I guess it's biovision, and then like I forget what it is, but basically
is that like detective vision.
Yeah, except there's two different versions of it. There's one where you see like more like, I guess life material. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
Biomaterial.
Biomaterial. Yeah, it just didn't sound right in my head when I construed that, and I was like, that seems wrong. But anyway, biological material, maybe, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then like more electronic based stuff, and I think what's kind of maybe this is just on me, the way I play games. I do like to see as much as I can, and I'm constantly switching between these modes and trying to catch everything in a room, and it just really seems to be dragging the pace down a lot. So maybe that has something to do with me too. I don't know. Maybe I need to just back off that a little bit and just kind of keep going with the story. But like I said, even the story beat's not really doing it for me. But it's a mechanic that kind of feels like it's slowing down the game. I guess if they added this into Layers of Fear as well, I probably wouldn't have liked Layers of Fear as much as I did either. So I don't know if it just, maybe this specifically is slowing it down, or if it's just the story in general. So maybe if it was a little more tight, and these little mechanics weren't in there, and maybe if it was just like some sort of trigger, and it would tell you like, hey, your other vision could see this maybe, or a little bit better, maybe you can switch now, rather than look at every single area of the game and just keep switching back and forth between those three fields of vision. It's just, not really doing it for me. So, but anyway, that's my thoughts on Observer so far. So like I said, hopefully the next few days I'll have a review on the site, and then let me see. Well, I don't know. Yakuza Kiwami's coming out in a couple days, so maybe we'll get on that.
Oh, Yakuza.
I got the notification from Amazon this morning that it's shipped out already, so I'm kind of excited to get back into that crazy fucking world of theirs.
I've seen Yakuza 0 to its completion. I know it's I cooled off on Yakuza quite a bit after. I still think it's a cool thing. It's just the things I don't like about it seem to be prevalent throughout the game instead of like improving. So, and I also thought the story of Zero at least went way too long, and it had one of my least favorite anime tropes of like characters. Like you think characters are dead, but no one ever actually dies. They keep coming back again after all of that, like and stuff like that. Just like characters. I am a strong proponent of characters. Killing characters is important, and for creating tension. And so, like when you constantly bring characters back to life, like it just killed all tension in every scene.
I think that's a kind of a flaw of just like dramas in general. I mean, I don't want to say it's just an anime thing, because like just a lot of drama series do that too,
Yeah, like it's just when you kill it, I generally hate.
You want somebody to just stay dead if they're dead.
Yeah, like it gives weight to that moment, and
I mean, look at Death of Superman. That basically just gave the green light on everyone can die and just come right back.
Yeah, and like sometimes characters getting brought back is good. You can't, because if you do the Game of Thrones thing where you just kill every character, it's like without replacing them with someone that interesting, like you're gonna lose. They were lucky, like after that 5th season, they were lucky the 6th season was as good as it was, but because they were just too busy killing characters.
Yeah. And this season they seem to be doing a pretty good job of even if not killing characters, but just effectively killing characters. Like they just kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, pacing is a whole other thing with the season, but it's it's been all right.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it too. It just seems a little hurried, this one, and I understand why, but at the same time, it's like maybe we could slow this down just a hair.
Like season 6 hit a great balance where I felt like it, and I feel like they've cranked it up a little too much this season.
Yeah, I think if this season and the next season, which is the last one, if they spread that out over the normal 10, 11 episodes or whatever, they could have paced this out a little bit better and given you like I was kind of glad to see the whole Sand Snakes thing end as quickly as it did.
Yeah, it was that whole thread went nowhere, especially because they killed like the best character from that thread in season 4.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Oh boy, did they kill him? Oh boy, oh boy.
That scene is burned in my fucking mind forever.
Yeah, that was. God. I don't remember if I was watching concurrently at that point, but like when I saw that episode, I was like, oh God.
That's when that season was when I started watching concurrently, and like that was the first I knew of the Red Wedding. I didn't know exactly what happened, but before I watched it, I had of course heard about the Red Wedding, so it wasn't as shocking as it would have been probably.
Mm-hmm.
But that death in season 4 is probably the most shocked I've ever been in the entire show.
Yeah, I think how graphic it was didn't help anything either.
Yeah, and especially because it's a character that gets introduced that season, and it's just.
And it was the penultimum of that one?
No, it was it was like the 7th episode.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, like it was like. It's just a waste of a good character. It was like.
I don't know how much more they could have done with him, though. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean that death was important. They flubbed they flubbed everything afterwards, but
yeah,
it's. I feel like you could have at least got another season out of that character, but I don't know. Whatever.
Now we've got Zombie Mountain, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I did like the part where that one guy in the streets was talking about how he showed us Cersei his gigantic cock, as they all say.
Yeah.
And then he's peeing, and then Mountain just comes and caves his skull in on the wall.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was that.
Season 6 was really good.
Yeah, really good goddamn season of television there. So I'm one of those people that if you're not watching Game of Thrones, I'm like, God, you need to watch it. But I mean, if it's your thing, it's your thing. It's pretty cool.
It's probably I'd say it's in my top 10 shows ever, but it's not. I don't think it's got plenty of problems. People that don't like it, I totally get people that don't like it too. So it's like.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of gratuitous stuff that shouldn't be, but can turn somebody off pretty easily, and I completely understand why that would do it. I think the first episode does a very good job of encapsulating what that show is going to be.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, in the first few minutes, it shows body parts dismembered in weird patterns. A hero character having to make a tough choice in killing somebody. A brother and sister fucking each other, a boy pushed out and crippled out of a window, a dwarf getting fucked by hookers. I mean, there's very little that's going on in that show that the first episode doesn't clue you in on. It's like, hey, this is what this is going to be, and if this is not doing it for you at all, you are completely turned off, get out now.
Yeah, and then of course the glacial pacing of those early seasons.
Yeah. Although, I will say, sometimes I do kind of like that. I do sort of like those, long con things.
Yeah, a good long build is also fun. It creates, the Red Wedding is all the product of a long build towards that. And that's why it works so well.
Mm-hmm.
But the winter is coming joke was a joke for a reason, because they winter was coming since the first episode. I'm pretty sure they say that in the first episode.
Yeah. And I mean, and clearly this has taken place over years, and
it's obviously Arya and Sansa are way older now.
Yeah, it is funny to look back at pictures of Sansa as a in the first season, and you're like, man, she was a child. In my memory, it's she's exactly as she looks now, and and it has done that every season. Where I think back, it's she hasn't aged any. Then I look back, I'm like, oh man, she was a child.
Yeah, all of the kids are a good way to gauge how long the show goes on.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they're all almost adults now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see like Arya. Like you look back at her and she was like a little girl, and now you're like, man, she's
Yeah, I
late
hope her
teens.
arc. I hope her arc in the season ends this season because it's not a fun arc.
Right now. I'm hoping what we're seeing is I guess Game of Thrones spoilers here, for God's sakes, whatever.
Yeah, this is the Game of Thrones Power Hour. Brought to you by-
Like I'm really hoping that they do something with this thing. Like she's like playing the
God, I do too.
because I mean, if this is the way she is now, I want Arya to die.
Arya is like my favorite character for like the entire show, you know, almost the entire show.
Yeah.
Like, and like to see her like fooled this easily and like threatening her sister, it's so like they finally meet each other again, and it's just
And she like immediately turns on her.
yeah, and like, and also I am like sick, and not in the like, not in like the fun way. Sick. I'm sick of Littlefinger as a character.
Yeah, I agree with you.
His
voice has gotten like really gravelly too. I don't really like
yeah,
it.
he talks so slow all the time, and like that shtick got old like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a good shitty character early on, and he's a fun character, but like I think it just this season, the first time I saw him, I think it clicked. Like, oh yeah, this motherfucker. It's like this guy. He's just a useless character at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Right now, his only purpose is he serves as the impetus for Sansa and Arya like fighting each other or being wary of each other at the very least. And it's like, well, they could have done that without Littlefinger. So I'm and then there's that huge gaping plot hole of all it would take is Bronn to like, hey, this is what's going on, guys. Maybe you should stop fighting each other.
But Bran hasn't been a good character in forever.
Oh, so, God, and just I mean, I hate to like, hunker down on anybody's appearance, but he is just not a good-looking person, and I'm sure just that hair. He just has that teenager, dirty, disgusting, like greasy hair. I don't know.
Yeah, he looks like a teenage boy.
Yeah,
yeah, he's just a bland character and has been for a really long time.
And I mean, he's even more bland now because he's the Three-Eyed Raven, so he has like no personality, and it's just like, okay, it's yeah. I mean, anyway, it's there's a lot going on with this season, and there's a lot to like. And there's also that I've been like,
their budget is absurd this season.
I think it also has to do with they trimmed off 3 episodes.
They had to because to get the budget they wanted. I'm pretty sure. So it's like
yeah.
To do like the loot train attack, which was incredible, like one of the most like.
Did you end up watching the special effects thing on that? Like I told you to.
No, I'm sorry.
I haven't watched that.
Yeah, because it's just like how good that looks for a TV show is mind blowing.
But that is better than most movies.
Yeah, it was like I still can't believe that was on television.
Yeah. Yeah, I sit down and watch Game of Thrones every week, and it's just sort of that thing of I don't know, like I forget that this is a TV show. Yeah,
like also the episodes are like movie length at this point now.
Yeah,
I think tonight's finale is gonna be like an hour and a half. So.
I mean, if you think about it, like with how much money those guys were making, like in its heyday, but like 2.5 Men, probably an hour of that cost more than Game of Thrones. It's like what? What?
Yeah,
and then you watch this, it's like, well, I mean, say what you will about 2.5 Men, it's supremely popular. I could not care less about that show. I don't want to say I'm ambivalent towards it. I'm sort of aggressively anti that show, and just about everything Chuck Lorre's ever done has been.
I've never been really a sitcom guy in general. Like a laugh track sitcom is just never been I haven't really liked those for a long time.
Yeah. I like. I don't know. It sort of goes in that stereotype of like I'm into video games and other kind of dorky stuff, so people are like, you should watch The Big Bang Theory, and it's just like the whole joke is I'm a nerd. It's like
Big Bang Theory sucks.
I was just like, this is what you people think I'm like. I mean, they
have like a new like spinoff, like Young Sheldon or some shit like that coming out.
I saw that where he's got that I thought it was just somebody's like Photoshop thing of like it's like him like tighten
No,
his bow tie or something
it's
like
like
that?
coming out this fall, I think.
Oh, Christ on a crutch. Okay, that's.
All right. Well, this has been the TV power hour, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, this is games and junk. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the junk
Yeah.
portion of it. This is where we talk about
I
whatever the
mean,
fuck we feel
oh
like,
yeah,
and
I totally don't mind talking about Game of Thrones with people or any other TV show. To be honest with you.
yeah, that's kind of getting back to Littlefinger. Like, I watched The Wire like pretty quickly. I mean, I watched like all 5 seasons within the course of like a month and a half, I think. And the character that, or the actor that plays Littlefinger is in The Wire, and he is great in The Wire, and I love him in that show. And then like I go back to the Game of Thrones after that, and I'm just like, I don't like Littlefinger. I don't like this character, and this is not his best work here. So
Yeah, the character's just been around too long and not changed at all.
yeah. And there's so little payoff for everything he does. I mean, maybe there's, like I said, he's one of those long con guys, but it seems like he's kind of played himself into a corner, and this is his last dash attack. Basically, he's turning those two on each other, and it's
Yeah, like his long con, I feel like didn't work. Has not, it was. I don't even know what his end goal is, honestly, at this point. Like probably sitting on the throne. Probably sit on the throne like everyone else. But
very simple man with that. So
yeah,
I mean, he's made that abundantly clear a few times.
Yeah.
So
it's just I don't know. Yeah, I still very much like Game of Thrones.
Me too.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the finale. I hope it's good. I hope I don't leave this season with the feeling like it should have been 3 episodes longer. It probably will.
Yeah,
but,
I already feel that way with this season, just because like how quick everything seems to be happening, and then like some things that happen just get completely brushed over, and it's just like, and from what they're showing, some of the things that I want to see get resolved maybe a little bit more, they're clearly not going to get resolved. So
I've TV recommendations for everyone out there. The Leftovers on HBO is a fantastic show, and everyone should watch it. That's all I need to say there.
I would recommend The Wire over The Leftovers personally, but if you haven't watched that, watch that.
The Leftovers is only 3 seasons. I feel like it's easy to recommend. Like in terms of the time, The Wire is also fantastic.
Yeah, that is probably. I mean, no grand statement there, but I think that is like my favorite TV show, and I was very late coming into that because I just watched it like last year. Like I watched the first 2 seasons a few years back, and the second season kind of is a little slow, and it just sort of lost me after that. And then I came back and it was like I started fresh and just watched it again, and I was like, and I started picking up on some of the intricacies of it. I was like, oh boy, this is good. And that's a tough show for me to watch because I cannot watch it in front of my kids because of the content, the language. Yeah. It's just like there's nothing. I don't think there's 5 minutes of that show that would be okay for me to show my children. So
Avon Barksdale is a great character.
Yep. I forget, it was like one of the side characters, but like just one of my favorite lines, and it's a line that I can only ever quote to people that have seen The Wire, and it's just, man, fuck the bunk. It was probably like, I mean, there's so much good stuff in that show, but that is like one of my favorite lines in that show. It was, man, fuck the bunk.
My favorite TV show of all time is The Sopranos, but because that show kind of spawned the TV revolution by itself.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, it's. I like the ending of The Sopranos. Come at me.
Haven't watched it. That's when another one of those that just like the length of it is what is always intimidating me.
Yeah, it's like six seasons, and the last season is like twice as long as the other ones.
Yeah. So. It's sort of weird how it bucked the trend of what's going on today of short seasons. So
yeah, I think the Leftovers is the only show I've ever watched though that doesn't have a bad episode in it. I will stand by that statement. I think every episode in that show is very good. Okay. Very good to great. And it has one of the most satisfying final seasons of a show. I know
Liv Tyler's in it, and I've always had a thing for Liv Tyler. So
she is in it. She is she's a pretty big character.
Yeah.
And Justin Theroux is the main character, sort of. So is Nora Durst. Not Nora Durst. Carrie Coon. Nora Durst is their character in the show. And Justin Theroux is like a comedian, but he plays he's a fantastic lead for the show too. It's a show that will bum you out though. Like it's it tackles a lot of heavy stuff like throughout in every episode. Like it's just really digging into people like the entire time.
Okay.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go with TV recommendations here, I don't know if it's my second favorite show, but it's pretty up there. Is Justified.
Justified's great.
One of. I mean, I can't think. I mean, I think that first season maybe is a little weaker compared to the rest of the series, but I love that show. Like I could literally just watch that over and over and over from start to finish. I just love that show.
The only season I've seen all of is the season with the moonshine, the lady with the apple pie moonshine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a great season.
I was gonna say that was a pretty solid one there.
Yeah,
so.
that's a. Also, I love Boyd Crowder. What's the fuck is the actor's name?
I know who you're talking about. Don't know the actor's name. I am terrible with actors, honestly.
He is he's a fantastic actor. Walton Goggins. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love him. Also, I like Timothy Oliphant too. I've liked a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, that's actually what got me to try. That and Jimmy Pardo from Never Not Funny, but that's actually what got me to watch Deadwood, which is another fantastic show.
Yeah. Just my Justified, like my version of that is Sons of Anarchy. That's the show that I love that show, and I don't care about motorcycles at all, but I love some. It's basically just a a gang show, anti-hero show.
Yeah.
But, I love that. Friday Night Lights, I mentioned earlier, it's a fantastic show. It's way better than you'd ever think it would be. Like, it's the best on-screen couple of any TV show.
That's what I've always heard. That's one of those that is on my long list of TV shows I want to get around to eventually. It's just a matter of time. So, and like I said, like with The Wire, like that's one of those things. Like, I mean, not in Friday Night Lights case, but like a lot of these TV shows, like I have to watch on my iPad with headphones on because I can't let my not that I can't, but I don't want my children exposed to some of the over the top graphical violence. I'm largely okay with them seeing nudity. It's like I'm not going to be like a prude about it. I think that actually damages kids more if you like don't look naked body than anything. But it's like they don't need to be seeing people gored and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's and then if I would just like the hipster show I'd recommend, like the show that I wish more people would watch but don't, is Banshee. It was a Cinemax. It was only on Cinemax.
That's right. I've seen it on. I think it's on Amazon Prime, isn't it?
Yeah. The first 2 seasons are free on Prime. Okay. It used to be just the first. Now the second one is too. There are only 4 seasons. The 4th season was a little disappointing. They had a lower budget, and that was kind of sad. It ends well, I think. It was the weakest season personally for me, which just kind of sucks, to end on the weakest season. But it at least had a satisfying conclusion. But I think it is probably the best straight action show on TV with some of the best choreographed. It has the best choreographed fight scene of any TV show. I will stand by that statement. In season 3, it is incredible. It is incredible that was like this. The camera work. Oh man, it's so good.
Okay.
But the first season it's a very pulpy show. Like but the characters are really really well written, and
it sounds like Connor might be into it then.
Yeah, it's yeah. Oh yeah, I think he would probably dig it. The first season there's a lot more nudity in the first season than in the other season. A lot more sex in the first season too. It's probably as close to sex as you can get on TV without it being porn.
Yeah.
For being honest.
Okay.
But yeah, it deserved more than it got audience wise. It's a really good show. I talked about Twin Peaks also. My love with Twin Peaks a few episodes ago. My newfound love. I plan on watching the new season whenever it ends. Just binging it.
Yeah, that's another one of those I need to get around to watching one of these years.
I'm glad. I've heard a lot of good things about the new season. I'm really happy to hear that too. It seems like people have liked it. So.
Good. All right. Well, shall we get on to some news here so we can end this nightmare?
Yeah. Our TV Power Hour is now over.
Yep. I think it was our TV 15 minutes actually. Or
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But not too bad. So. Okay, so we'll run down these things real quick here. The team that's making Yakuza seems to be very busy. They have got 3 games coming out in, I don't know, maybe the next 2 years or whatever. But Yakuza Kiwami 2 got announced. There's a online game that's coming out for smartphone and PC. I don't really know how that's going to work. And that studio is also working on Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, it's be the second Fist of the North Star game.
Well, if you want to go...
I guess I shouldn't say that. I mean, I'm sure there are a bunch in...
Yeah, I mean, there's one for the NES. So.
Yeah, I get.
And there
second
was a Musou
3D
one, so...
Yeah, I know that one. But, yeah, it's... Anyway, yeah, new Fist of the North Star game, which is it's a pretty well-liked anime. It's a classic, I'm pretty sure. Considered a classic by a lot of anime fans.
Yeah.
I've never watched it.
Neither have I. There was like a prequel like manga series to it that was in this Raijin Comics, like this manga thing I had subscribed to like early 2000s when I was into manga, and I don't even remember the name of it. That's how memorable it is. I don't. Yeah. So
is it like a shonen? Or is it like a Trigun thing?
It's if I really had to compare it to something, it's the Incredible, or it's like the Hulk TV show from like the 60s or whatever.
Oh, so he just wanders around punching people?
Yep, basically wanders from town to town. Something happens, and then he moves on. So
it's like Kane from Kung Fu.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Who knew the Hulk would be influencing manga? So, the TV show nonetheless. So anyway, yeah, they seem awfully busy. So I don't know how the hell they're gonna make this happen, because they're also wrapping up Yakuza 6 right now, I think.
Yeah, that comes out next year.
Yeah.
There are a lot of New Japan Pro wrestlers in that game that they actually like mocapped into the game.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm sure you'll get a lot of their moves too in the game, which is so that should be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see some different kind of takes on combat in that game. So anyway, moving on, Secret of Mana got an announcement for a remake, which
that was out of nowhere. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, we're making this like a complete remake.
Yeah, and it looks like it's running on the Adventures of Mana engine, because graphically it looks very similar.
Yeah, it's got a good art style.
Yeah, a lot of people are not happy with the look, and I think it looks pretty nice. My big concern, two big concerns. It's really weird. You'd think I was blind when it comes to playing video games. Like, I'm more concerned about the voice acting that they're throwing in there, and I'm more concerned about the soundtrack, because Secret of Mana soundtrack was the very first video game soundtrack I ever bought, like a physical copy of, when I was a kid.
Oh wow, that's high praise from you.
Yeah, it remains one of my favorite, and I still have that CD from when I was a kid, like that and like Kefka's Domain, which was the Final Fantasy VI soundtrack. You could buy those like at the back of Nintendo Power, I think, or whatever. But that to this day, like there's like maybe like 2 weak tracks on that soundtrack. That is Hiroki Kikuta's like, I think, some of his finest work. There's also like 2 like remix albums of that, or one's like an arranged one, and then it's the other Secret of Mana Plus, I think. They're both fantastic. That the music from that game is just hugely influential. I think after the show one day I was like sending you Secret of Mana tracks, like I was trying to pick out one to throw at the end of the show or whatever, and that
it's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like it's weird. That was like so many video games I played, like say Super Nintendo, early PlayStation era. I have memories of the Secret of Mana soundtrack playing over them, because I would play them on my CD player while I was playing those games.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. So are they completely redoing the soundtrack, or is there an option to have to like?
They really haven't announced anything.
Okay.
I got the presser from Square Enix about it, and it's not much more detailed than anything else you've seen. So
I assume they will do this. They will do a remastered, or you can have the option to use the original.
Now, granted, what Adventure of Mana is based on is a Game Boy game, so I don't know. Like, they didn't have that option for the music there, but Game Boy soundtracks haven't. I don't know. I would really be hesitant to think of like more than 3 Game Boy soundtracks that I think are actually really good, and even then, like, I'm the only one that can come across off the top of my head is like Link's Awakening. So
the Castlevania games are pretty good.
They're okay.
They're
definitely not Castlevania's strongest entries.
Yeah, I mean they're fine though.
Yeah.
was I gonna say? I was disappointed that they weren't making a Switch version of this.
I'm wondering if they're going to work on that. Maybe like I will buy it on the PS4. I'll probably buy it on the Vita too, just like to support it, because I've got a feeling that this might be a we'll say toe in the pool to see if this sells well enough. Maybe they bring Seiken Densetsu 3 out here finally, and they use this engine. I don't think it's too much of a stretch, because Secret of Mana, as it was when it came out, was not a finished game. It was originally being made for the CD, the Super Nintendo CD or whatever it was.
It became the PlayStation, right?
Yeah. It was effectively like the Sega CD for the Super Famicom.
They finally like released like documents of that last year, right? Was that last year?
Yeah, I think so. And then one popped up in the wild is what happened too.
So. Oh yes, yeah, that's right.
But so I'm wondering like how much of this they're actually going to redo and kind of maybe fill in some of the gaps, because there's a lot in Secret of Mana. Even playing it as a young teenager when it came out, like it didn't make a lot of sense. Like there was like, wait, what just happened there? But as I remember it, like it was a fantastic game. I loved that game. I can't tell you how many times we rented it from this place before my grandma finally just broke down and bought it, realizing she was, spending the same like $10 or $8 on it every fucking weekend for us. It's like, oh, I could have just bought this for you already.
I assume they're going to do online co-op?
No, local co-op only from what I've seen.
Oh,
so that's kind of a bummer. But I think that's another reason why I would, like you said, I think Switch would be a great fit for this thing.
Yeah, I stand by my statement that any RPG should be on the Switch, personally. But,
yeah. I mean, honestly, there's some that I think, like, scope-wise, like, I don't know, like...
I mean, you can't put The Witcher on Switch, but, I mean, like, good old, like, small JRPGs or just, like, other smaller RPGs, I guess, like, less graphically intensive, more, but, maybe just as deep, but less, yeah.
Maybe, like, what you're meaning is, like, 3D open-world scope.
Yeah, I mean, you
doesn't need to be quite there.
It doesn't need to be like. I mean, they're putting Skyrim on there, so I guess it.
Yeah. But I mean, they put Skyrim on the 360 and the PS3 too. So
they'll put Skyrim on anything.
Yeah. Just wait a few years. That'll end up on a toaster of some sort. So.
Hell of a toaster.
Yeah. Well, times they are changing. I mean, you look at the graphical fidelity on an Apple Watch, and it's better than most TVs from 15 years ago. So.
That's crazy.
Kind of incredible when you think about it. But anyway, so that Secret of Mana remake, I'm excited about. I'm going to buy it. I don't give a shit. But I don't care what people say about the graphical style. I think it looks nice. It is lent to the like the clay figures that they showed off in in the manual and stuff. I think it's more akin to those, and I'm fine with that. It's just a matter of, like I said, for me, like, soundtrack is my big concern, because I can deal with the bad voice acting if need be. The soundtrack, like I said, this is a very important soundtrack to me. This is like probably the first game that like ever really got stuck in me as far as just the soundtrack. The soundtrack holds a special place in my heart, and I'm really hoping that they bring, like, if they're gonna rearrange it or anything, I'm hoping they bring Hiroki Kikuta back to at least supervise it. So, because I think that was like the peak of his work, and still, like I said, Super Nintendo, RPGs or just games in general, like, some of my favorite music and video games are from that era, and that is even beating Final Fantasy VI for me. That is my favorite soundtrack from that era. So
now all I need to do is make a Chrono Trigger where they use they have in the art style of the cutscenes from the PS1 version the entire time. This looks like a Toriyama anime the entire time.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that would be a hell of a thing.
It's kind of turning into like what Dragon Quest is kind of turning into. So. But anyway, moving on. It kind of weird. I didn't read it because it's not that I'm not a fan. I'm just not that into it. But the Half-Life 3 story basically got leaked out.
Yeah, I tried to read it, and I realized I don't remember the Half-Life story. So I was like, yeah, I don't remember any. I don't. Okay, see, like, the thing with Half-Life with me is, like, this is cool. I mean, this is interesting. I'm glad that, like, they put it out there at least, like, to show that it did exist. Like, I mean, obviously it existed. Like, I'm sure Half-Life 3 has existed in 3 or 4 different forms at this point.
Yeah.
But like Half-Life for me was always its gameplay is always what I liked. Half-Life is because it was always like Half-Life 2 created like was like a big physics thing. I mean, it's not impressive now because every game afterwards copied it. Like it's you have in the first Half-Life just like the storytelling of the way storytelling was done in Half-Life is also not as impressive now because everything copied it afterwards too. You're like, oh my god, what a good idea to do in engine like I mean it was basically like the Metal Gear for first person shooters in terms of just like doing in engine storytelling. You know, but they didn't do cutscenes. Like it just which was they never took control away from the player, which has always been kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I like about Half-Life, but like the story is whatever. I honestly cannot tell you what the story of Half-Life is.
Yeah. Well, like I know you're basically a disembodied crowbar is what I got most of.
They open like a fucking dimension to some alien dimension. Aliens come through and it's bad news.
And then you've got to fight them. So
yeah.
I mean, it's at the time maybe it was a pretty deep story or something like that. Maybe there was something going on, but like just nuance wise, like it never really did much for me. I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to fight all these things. Cool. I don't know. Like I don't know. I see it as a cool artifact, but going back to it, like I don't know. It does not seem like a sort of game like I'd want to go back to. I mean, Half-Life 2 looks good still, at least. I mean, not great, but considering the era it came from and thing, it still looks pretty good. It just
I really like the Half-Life games, but I also like not crazy about them. I don't like worship them like some people do, but I think I appreciate everything about them and everything they did for shooters as a big shooter fan.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, this is cool for fans. Like I said, I'm like, I don't. It's been since like the Orange Box first came out that I played Half-Life 2, so it's been a while, and I don't remember it, and I'm not really that interested in going back to it. So if Half-Life 3 ever comes out, maybe, but I don't really feel like reading a novelization of video games because we all know how those turn out most of the time. So.
Yeah, and they also like he changed names and stuff too, just slightly. And it was kind of like the way the blog was written was kind of strange too. It was kind of like
maybe it was a copyright infringement thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was definitely like it was written from a weird perspective too. Like it wasn't just like here's the script for the game. It was strange, but I understand why it had to be that way probably. So.
Yeah. I would honestly much rather just keep reading the Berserk manga. Like I've been reading that online. So
yeah, it is kind of. I mean, they did end on just a massive cliffhanger. To be fair, so it's. I mean, it's been. When did episode 2007? 10 years since episode 2 came out.
It's been a while.
Came out with the orange box.
Quite a while. So I'm not. Yeah, like I said, I'm not starved to find out what happened next. So
I'm sure it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, clearly it has because Valve's doing pretty well financially. So.
Oh yes, they are.
They're doing just fine. So, anyway, let's move on here. Real quick, this is just something I wanted to touch on, just because this is it's kind of weird for me because I mean, I don't really talk about sports very much, but NBA 2K18 showed off their all-time like team rosters, and there are so many players back from like when I was interested in the NBA, like. This I think it was like 15 or 14 that threw in the Michael Jordan thing or whatever.
That was 13.
13. Okay, yeah, 13. Yeah, 13 sounds right.
No, that was 11. It was 11.
Was it 11? Okay, Jesus God.
Yeah, it's been a while. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean that I honestly like I bought 2K11 like early on so I could play the Jordan thing because that was good game. That was that was my era of like coming up playing basketball and like watching basketball, not religiously, but I watched a lot of basketball, and a lot of these like these players that they're throwing in there are from like the era before that and that era, and having my my favorite basketball player in there on the Suns, Kevin Johnson, in there, I'm like, yep, I pretty much got to buy this.
Kevin, that's your favorite player. He's a good player. I like Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, actually. The only NBA game I've ever seen was what was supposed to be Kevin Johnson's final home game, and it was kind of crazy because it was like the only time he had dunked that whole season. I got to see him dunk, and it was like
that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But then he came out of retirement because the Suns like were hurting very badly for help. I think like the next year, and they were like, "Hey, if we pay you this, we come out of retirement and play." And then he played like half a season more, and that was it. So
yeah, I'm a huge basketball fan. It's my favorite sport. I love the way they dribble up and down the court. But I could not do that.
Shooting balls.
Yeah. basketball and football, big fan. But yeah, like I'm a fan of all eras of basketball almost. Probably the 70s is about where 60s is interesting too. That's basically just when the Celtics were the most dominant one of those dominant sports teams of all time. As a Lakers fan, it's upsetting. Yeah, I always love seeing all-time teams and what people think. Like just ranking players from teams is always fun for me. It's
I will say, like, seeing some of the player rankings on this thing, like, I think they gave Larry Bird like a 98, and like Robert Parrish like a 93. I'm like, Robert Parrish was no fucking 93. Okay, I'm sorry. He was a decent center, just surrounded by a lot of talent. So
yeah, he was. Yeah, that Celtics team was very good.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin McHale was no 90s rated power forward.
Kevin McHale absolutely was. Kevin McHale could actually his game translates very favorably to this generation of basketball. He was he was kind of a very ahead of his time. Like he was very pass oriented, he had more range than a typical power forward did back then. Like he could more run the floor. Like he was a little ahead of his time too, even.
You want to know who I say, like, out of every Celtic, not every Celtic, but out of like that generation of Celtics, we'll say, like, like the later half of like Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish's careers, was he? I would say like maybe it was just nostalgia or whatever, but like Reggie Lewis was like my second favorite basketball player.
Okay.
I think he was pretty ahead of his time. Like he was a big dude, but that dude could move and shoot. Like he had some range to him, and he was fast. I mean, he was. I mean, he's certainly no LeBron James in terms of that. But the way
no one has ever been LeBron James.
No, but I mean, just in like, that era of like basketball was not played like that, and Reggie Lewis was a threat enough that he you had to watch him inside, you had to watch him outside. He was fast, he could break people, and he was still like powerful enough that he could get in there and rebound pretty hard too. So
yeah, it's like the game today is very predicated on shooting and athleticism. Like that's just how it is. Yeah. So it's they're like the games generally don't translate very well. Like 80s was very
methodical.
Yeah, it's way. Actually, the pace was faster in the 80s than it is today. I think that it was that decade had the fastest pace.
Oh, okay.
Ever. Like the Showtime Lakers and the Celtics.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it was more classic. Magic Johnson was kind of like the atypical of like that style because he was a 6'9" point guard.
Yeah.
But and I mean even today like that's what a point forward is now. I mean LeBron, it's basically what LeBron James is. But
yeah, it is kind of weird like in the 90s and like maybe even like into the early 2000s because that's about when I fell off. But like that was the roles were very, very defined in that era of basketball.
Yes, they were.
I mean, you had the big dude was the center. You had the guy who couldn't really shoot, but wasn't that tall, but he was powerful. He was your power forward. You had the small forward who was quick and could shoot and could still get inside, but he didn't excel at any of those. The shooting guard was just that. He was the shooting guard, and the point guard was the guy who could not shoot to save his goddamn life. But man, if he couldn't break some ankles and get the assist numbers.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, the 90s very much like that was like the last great era for centers. Centers like the classic center is a kind of a dying breed currently. Like I'm sure there will be a renaissance at some point.
Yeah, because I mean then you had Hakeem Olajuwon.
David Robinson, Shaq.
Yeah.
It was a lot big men, and I mean Tim Duncan. Big men were very dominant then.
Well, remember Tim Duncan? Even then, they put him at the power forward spot until David Robinson retired.
Yeah, the Twin Towers, and
there was an unfortunate day.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Actually, when Jason Kidd ended up going to the Suns, they called him and KJ the Twin Terrors.
Okay, that makes sense. Today it's
Jason Kidd was not much of a scoring machine. Like Kevin Johnson could fill the role of a shooting guard.
He did not
was small.
did not develop into a scorer until later in his career, and he still was never really a big scorer either.
Yeah.
He
You can
developed his
count on
3
him
point.
for double-digit assists every game, basically. But
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic point guard. But I mean, today's basketball is just it's positionless basketball at this point. Like there's constant switching. Like the Warriors are as great as they are because they're versatile from every position. They can switch constantly. They can shoot. They will shoot you they'll outshoot you every game generally. They just have more firepower and they're just more flexible. Like the typical like the definitions for positions don't really exist anymore. Like saying a point guard has to be like a passing machine is not the case anymore. Generally, a point guard is your
smallest guy.
No, generally he's your highest scorer generally in a lot of teams at this point. He's like the point guard is he wants to get into the paint like the most stereotypical way is like the one it like drive and kick, like get your everyone else roll right around the perimeter because the 3-point shots are the second most efficient shot in basketball there, because a mid-range jumper is inefficient because if you just backed up a few more feet you'd add another point. So it's kind of like the mid-range game has died out in basketball almost. It's very inside. It's either in the paint or around the arc.
Yeah.
So it's just basketball and sports are constantly changing. Football is very it's a very high scoring currently. So
yeah, and you look at the size of some of those guys and you're like, they should not be able to be as fast as they are with weighing 300 something pounds. You're like, you could probably run me down, and I'm 5'7", 150 pounds and pretty quick, but some of those guys, I'm like, I don't know if I could outrun them. Holy shit. And they're, half a foot taller than me and weigh 200 plus pounds.
Yeah, like a corner, like the prototypical cornerback right now is like 6'3", 6'4". So because receivers just keep getting taller, so cornerbacks have to keep getting taller. Like it's just bigger, stronger, faster. This is how it's always going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to keep.
But anyway, so that's NBA. That's why I'm going to pick up NBA 2K18 because it goes back to a lot of nostalgia for me, and it'll be interesting to see like how like my idea of basketball is and was played like when I was in high school, even how that's going to translate to like these all-time teams with just a huge like roster of like great players to fall back on. One like thing that like I was a little upset like I didn't see, but maybe it was just because that was the era of when the Suns were great, I guess, as great as they ever were. Was I didn't see Danny Manning on there, either them or the Clippers, and I was like, why is Danny Manning?
Do they have benches or is it just the 5 best players?
No, they went like full rosters. I mean, like Cedric Sabalos was on the Suns roster.
Danny Manning should be on one of those teams.
And I think maybe that might have something to do with like Charles Barkley, like maybe just like a licensing thing. I don't know. Like Charles Barkley's not on there, so.
Oh yeah, that's a top 50 player of all time, probably top 20 or 30. Yeah, I got the 2K17. I got 2K17 last year because it was the Kobe edition after he retired. Yeah. So I understand nostalgia. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, for me, this is just like, wow, there's so many of these players that like I grew up with, and like when I started playing basketball on my own and got decent at, like this was the era I grew up in. So I was like, okay, this is the 2K game for me. Like I want this. So it just maybe being able to shut down the Bulls and the would be a dream for me as a Suns fan because. Oh man,
because that's only a dream.
That finals was a heartbreaker for me. Like I think I went in knowing that the Suns, there was no way they were going to take on the Bulls, but like it's just
it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
you don't beat Michael Jordan in the finals.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, let's move on here. Brink went free to play. That shooter from like 5 years ago.
6
years ago. Yeah.
It's free to play now, everyone.
Yep. So there you go. Go and get your Brink on. If you're not sure what Brink is, think kind of Mirror's Edge with first person shooting. And
which sounds cool, but don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds cool as it sounds. So
yeah.
Here, let's make a quick run through this. No more Mass Effect Andromeda story DLC, which probably good idea. Based
Yeah,
on
they
everything I've
need,
heard, it's just like a lot of these characters weren't very well liked, and it's just like, rather than try to build and build and build and hopefully get something back out of it, they just cut their losses and moving on. So
yeah, they're probably gonna take a break from Mass Effect for a while, which is probably for the best.
yeah.
I don't think it's
Well, I
gone
mean,
forever by
hell,
any.
they weren't deliberately taking a break from the last or after three, and that was 5 years in between. So
Yeah, like it's gonna be a while before we see another Mass Effect, I assume.
yeah, the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X will be the de facto machines by then. So I'm sure by the time we see the next ones. So okay, so there's a lot of Final Fantasy 15 things here. We'll make very quick
Yeah, there
rundown
are.
of this. I didn't think nearly a year later we'd still be talking about new Final Fantasy 15 shit, but here we are. There's a crossover with Assassin's Creed Origins.
Sure. Yeah, I
Really
don't know why.
sure why or what
Yeah.
this audience is, but I mean, color me at least mildly intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Sure, dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That game probably cost a fortune to make, and they're probably just trying to recoup as much as they can off of it. And
I mean, obviously
completely understand.
they're putting on everything.
Yeah,
So.
including mobile. God,
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell this is. I mean, the easiest way I can describe the look is if you look at like the Bravely Default characters. That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, and apparently the entirety of the game is going to be on there. I
Yeah,
don't know
like
how
it's
they're going to make that work.
literally like the full game, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's coming to PC with some rather crazy recommended specs. They did retract the what was it, 100 and something gigabytes.
170 gigabytes.
For the install, which they said was some sort of miscommunication. But yeah, I was listening to RPG Cast, and they were talking about the they recommend you have 4K and all that. I'm like, what the hell? And then like the recommended graphics card is like maybe 3 below the best one that's out there right now.
Yeah, like I mean, Final Fantasy 15 is a good looking game on consoles, but this is Square has
Absurd.
always had a problem with from what I understand, with optimizing their games for PC too.
Yeah, I have
yeah,
heard
so
I've heard some major issues like with
yeah,
the Final Fantasy 13 ports. So
yeah. So I would wait on this when it comes out just to see how it turns out. I would.
yeah. Or I don't know, just get on the PS4 or the Xbox One and just do the remote play thing from those things. Because yeah, I mean, it looks pretty as it is. I get the PC Master Race thing and everything, but good God, I mean, how much nicer do you need it to look if you're going to spend $4,000 on a fucking machine? It's not going to look $4,000 better. So anyway,
it's more for everything to look better, not just one game. So
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, I can't ever see spending that much money for something to look better, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got the mobile. Apparently there's something they want to do with the Switch. They haven't really gone beyond saying that they're interested in putting Final Fantasy 15 in some form or doing something with Final Fantasy 15 on the Switch. So we'll see what that ends up being. If that goes, I can't imagine they put the full version on there. If they put this little chibi version on there, they might be inclined to play it on there. So if they can do it where you actually use controllers and not touch screen, because I'm not playing a 50+ hour RPG on a touchscreen. So anyway, I think that's everything except let's go ahead and close out with something that we haven't done in quite a while, the Overwatch Minute.
Oh, that's right. All right. When you
I'm
want me to
just
go,
gonna
Jason?
sit back here while you go.
Okay. Overwatch had a bunch of new announcements this month, ending probably before this podcast goes up. Its latest event will be over. The summer games. They seem to be wanting to do the same events every year, just adding new skins and stuff, but kind of keep the same schedule every year, which is interesting. I think a smart choice. It keeps them from overextending ideas, and then they can just have a focus.
And not spending the crazy amounts of money every goddamn year.
Yeah, but so I mean, you'll still be getting new skins every time, and they also this time re-released the skins from the last one, so cheaper. So if you didn't get them the last time, you could get them cheaper this time, which is I think was nice, at least, especially because I think I don't know if they had it. I think this might have been the only one where you couldn't buy skins. You only could get them in boxes. They changed that later, so where you can actually buy the event skins with gold. And then they also announced two major changes to characters. The smaller change is Diva is her defensive matrix ability, which is kind of like hold down left trigger to absorb all projectiles coming towards you. Mm-hmm. Is now getting like the meter on it is getting shrunk, and they're adding missiles. They're giving her a ability to shoot missiles. So I guess they're trying to make her a more assault-based character, from what I can tell. They're also doing that to Mercy, and which is a much bigger change. They're basically redesigning the entire character. Her original ult was you revive up to you could revive your entire team. It depends on who is in the up to all 5 characters on your team at once. They are now changing her revive to one of her cooldown abilities. It has a 30-second cooldown, and you can only revive one person at a time. But her new ult is she basically becomes, it's called Valkyrie mode, and she becomes a souped-up version of Mercy, where she can heal faster, boost damage faster, and she deals more damage. So she's making her very assault-based, which is. But from what I understand, in the PTR, the public test realm, where they test characters before they release them to the public, or release. She is very overpowered right now. At this point I can't see her not being on almost every team you come across with her new version. She just fits like she would. Originally, she was kind of like a character where you would hang back and just kind of wait till you popped her ult. But now she seems very active of a character. The revive seems more tactical now, which is kind of interesting. I think it's interesting. I feel like they're going to have to adjust it though when it finally comes out. It's a hell of a thing to do. They changed the entire character basically, like just the way you approach it, which is cool, but scary also for a game that's all about character balance. So it's like they have been tweaking characters on constantly since the game came out.
But this is like a major change, not a tweak.
This is like the most major change they've ever done. I think Symmetra is close too. They made her a much more active character too. A few months, like early this year, maybe end of last year. Don't quite remember. But yeah, it's a big change. It's probably the biggest change they've announced since that one. So I expect to see her a lot whenever this gets put in gets released to the public. And also a new map comes out next month. They're sticking to their one new thing a month schedule. It's called Junkertown. It's in the wasteland of Australia from their fiction. So it's a escort the payload map. Looks interesting, and then the Halloween event afterwards probably. So yeah, Overwatch keeps on trucking. I think it's all I got.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's seriously gonna keep on trucking for a while. So.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
insanely popular. I mean, understandably, like I said, what I played of it, I totally see the appeal, just not for me. So, not my kind of game. So, because I suck at those games. So, I'm realistic about it.
Yeah, I mean, you gave it a shot.
Yep.
So that's all you can ask someone.
I even paid money to give it a shot because the download was taking forever or whatever the hell it was that free weekend. So I was like, I'll just go to Redbox and rent the goddamn thing. So, anyway, that about wraps it up. I think, I wasn't really expecting even this long of a podcast, but we talk about some TV there for a change, and hopefully you get around to listening to this eventually because I know that that Metal Gear podcast is a little long. So
yeah.
If you haven't listened to that, I do recommend listening to that.
I do too. We talked a lot on that. You guys better listen to it. I'm just kidding.
Me, John, we were joined by Connor Mahood of the Movie Express podcast and Joe Star from Twitter, we'll say. And we used to do some stuff for another site that I've written for before previously, and we'll leave it there. But anyway, yeah, Joe's a good dude. It was good to have him on, and he'll be making some returns with us. And I do want to tease that we've got a special guest lined up for. It's not the next game club because we're going to be doing another one, I think, in between. But we're going to be doing another one, and it's a series we mentioned earlier, and I'll leave it at that. How about this? It's a JRPG series, and we'll kind of leave it at that.
Mentioned it in passing earlier. If you like that.
Oh yeah. No, these are breadcrumbs here I'm leaving for people, but it's a very special guest, and if you're familiar with people I follow and maybe other podcasts I listen to, you might be able to parse this one together. But if you're not, well, there you go. It's something to wait another month or so for before we see. But yeah, this special guest is going to take a little lighting up just because of time zone differences. But I think it's going to be fun. So anyway, anyways, if you guys have any suggestions for game clubs you want to see us handle, I'm more inclined to take them. So you can either tweet at us at Games and Junk, either tweet at myself, which is Jason Arriola, or John at John Lucero 777. Let us know if there's anything you want us to cover, because I think we finally settled on this format, and I'm going to learn how to trim it back a little bit, because 4 hours and 15 minutes was a long goddamn time to be doing a podcast. If you thought that was long to listen to, try talking through it and editing the fucking thing together. So. That was, I'd say probably about 12 hours of my life I put into that thing all total. So, a lot of time to get that up. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad we did it. And I'm very proud of how it turned out. So, if you haven't listened to it, do me a favor, go listen to it. Even if it takes you a week or two to get through. But it's worth a listen. So, it was a lot of fun. And with that, I think outside of the forthcoming Observer review that'll have out sometime this week. Can't really think of much else that we should plug. Gore's got something that'll be going up on the site in a day or two. We just didn't want it to get steamrolled by the Metal Gear podcast. So
yeah, I don't think I have any reviews coming anytime soon, personally. So yeah.
Yeah, with Ease 8 coming out soon, that might be the next thing I really kind of go after that's new to play. But yeah, anyway,
Destiny 2 probably for me would be the next big one. I don't know if I'm going to review it, but I'm definitely gonna.
It'll be something to talk about on the podcast at least.
Yeah,
that'll turn into a Destiny minute there, because I don't know if you're gonna find a lot of people playing that on here.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I'm used to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you think I feel? Most of the stuff I play, it's like, okay, Jason, you go ahead and keep enjoying your weirdo fucking roguelike shit. So, anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.